Mandan Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for December 22nd to order. Call please.
Commissioner Langang, Commissioner Huber,
Here.
Commissioner Mutter,
Here.
Commissioner Horn, Mayor Freilich,
Here.
Commissioner Infeld, Commissioner McLean,
Here.
Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Hammond,
Here.
Commissioner Gardner,
Here.
Commissioner Renner,
Here.
Chair Robinson.
Here. Next item, we have the minutes from our November 24th meeting. Do we have any changes?
I can move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner McLean, second by Commissioner Mutter to approve the minutes of November 24th. Do we have any questions? None. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Huber,
Yes.
Commissioner Mutter,
Yes.
Mayor Freilich,
Yes.
Commissioner McLean,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner,
Yes.
Commissioner Renner,
Yes.
Chair Robinson.
Yes. And minutes are approved. We'll move on to the first of our public hearings. Item number 1 is to consider a variance for lots 1 and 2, Block 1, North Prairie Second Subdivision. Jordan?
Good evening, Chair Robinson, Commissioners. Early Merry Christmas to you and all other things. Online tonight we have Rachel taking the first item, which would be this variance request, and I'll be taking the second one. So on the screen be Rachel.
Great. Good evening, Commissioners, Chair. So this is a structure variance for an accessory structure at 5405 Highland Road North. And so this is a consideration of a variance to section 105-1-3, subsection 4 of the City Code of Ordinances, which is incidental uses, accessory structures, in the R7 zoning district, which is what this property is. The total square footage of the accessory buildings may not exceed 10% of the lot area, and the maximum size of any one of the accessory buildings shall be no greater than 75% of the size of the primary structure on the lot. The proposed structure is larger than the primary structure. So in addition, the accessory structure will add an additional structure to lots 1 and 2. It's unclear quite which lot the new building will sit on. And so there is a little bit of uncertainty there. So the properties surrounding this property are zoned R7 residential with some agricultural further to the east. The future land use plan identifies the area as low and medium density residential. So the variance request is regarding the storage building size. However, the lot's a large rural lot. There is a great deal of distance between neighboring properties in the area, including a large tree row to the south. The owner intends to use the additional building to store items that are now stored outside and to move them inside. The use would not be allowable on its own on a lot, so the owner would need to sell lots 1 and 2 together. So in your packet, there are findings of fact with some potential recommended findings. Those findings are that the hardship is caused because the code will not allow an accessory building larger than the primary. Nearby property owners also have large storage barn structures. The building size is a standard size building, and the surrounding area operates as a rural residential area, though there is no rural residential zoning. So as a whole, the staff recommendation is to review the request and findings of fact, but in general, the staff would be in support of this particular variance given the location, intended use, and surrounding property sizes, as well as the similarity of uses on the surrounding properties. I can answer any questions that you might have.
Questions for Rachel?
I just wanted to clarify, Rachel, this is Ellen Huber, and I just wanted to clarify, did you say it's not yet clear whether the structure would go on lot 1 or lot 2?
I haven't seen a site plan. I don't think it's been provided to us exactly where that lot line is. From the aerial imagery and combining the aerial imagery with the proposed site plan. I think lot 1 and 2 are like somewhere between the house and the existing accessory structure, right about where Jordan's line is. So we haven't seen that specifically. The property operates as one. And I think there's already an accessory structure on its own on that south lot. So it's a concern, but I don't think it's, unreasonable for this area.
And I guess maybe just to further clarify, I asked that question because if it goes on lot 2, that would be, if I understand correctly, on the lot where there is no residential structure. And so I just wanted to understand a little bit better when you said in the documentation that the lots would need to sell together and what would determine or control that.
Yep, Chair, Commissioner, the typical route to do that would be requiring that that the owner combine the 2 lots into one. The variance itself and the fact that there's a variance on the property, I don't know if it would legally require it, but it will at least give notice to anybody that they would need to do it. Again, in another area of the city, I would probably be more concerned about this, much more concerned about this. But in this particular instance, as the lot is large and is, very similar to the rural residential properties in the area, less so.
Also, just to clarify, when you say the lot is large, you're talking the combined acreage of both 1 and 2?
I'm so sorry, Chairman. I didn't quite hear that.
When you, just to clarify on the acreage, when you discuss, there's plenty of acreage here, you're talking the combined acreage of lot 1 and 2? Is a combined total that 6.78?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Chair Robinson, Rachel, if that's 2 lots there, how does that, I guess I'm just trying to make sense out of how those 2 would have to be tied together. Do they have to be put together as 1 lot first before the variance then? Being there's, depending on where the lots go, that's going to affect the square footage of the building and stuff. So should this be made into 1 lot first?
Chair, Commissioners, again, it would be great if that were possible. These are 2 pretty combined lots. If you wanted to make a part of your motion that they come back in with a minor plat to combine the 2 lots, that would certainly be a way to handle that issue.
Maybe a follow-up question. Is it possible to combine 2 lots that have a major road separating them?
Here, Commissioner, I'm not sure what you mean by a major road separating them.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding what's lot 1 and lot 2 with respect to the maps in front of us, but it would look like Highland Road cuts between the 2 lots.
Chair, Commissioners, no, the area that Jordan is showing, there you go, that is lots 1 and 2. Jordan, if you go back to the plat. Can you show lots 1 and 2? Lot 1 is on the south, it's 1.95 acres, and then lot 2 is just to the north of it with 3.9 acres.
Thank you for clarifying. That's really light on our copies.
Gotcha.
Any other questions from the commission?
Could you tell me, Rachel, maybe I just am not seeing it here, but the difference in the proposed, what would be allowed versus what is requested?
Chairman, I was not provided that information by the applicant. I just, based on the measurements that we could do from the aerial, the proposed building would be larger. It is proposed to be 7,200 square feet.
Chair Robinson, Commissioner Gardner. There's also a provision in the ordinance currently that talks about accessory buildings and the number of accessory buildings. From this picture, you can tell there's 2 already on the property. And depending on the size, you're allowed more or less of that, but it's still based on the square footage of the main structure. So his variance request is for adding because his house isn't bigger in a sense. So if that makes sense.
So if his house is bigger, then he-
75%.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Any other questions at this time? With none, I'll open it up for public comments or questions. We're taking comments or questions on item number 1. Again, comments or questions on item number 1. Last call. And with none, I'll close public comment and return it back to the commission.
I just have one, I guess, one question or comment for any of the commissioners. I know that the road that's the private road behind the residence to the west was at one point, it was discussed that that road, that there was a need for future development along, I guess it's Wild Rye, that Wild Rye Circle Northwest, that was supposed to actually, that there was a future road going in there somewhere, and I'm just wondering if there's anything at this point that we need to consider in approving this variance.
Chair Robinson, Commissioner Gardner, I've got on my screen pulled up the site mentioned, and I think what you're thinking of is the past variance request we had from Chaden Gordon, who would be just to the west. And I know that this road section was taken care of in their plat. I know there were changes and things that they did as far as right-of-way was concerned, making sure that that was in place. So I think they have it taken care of on the other side of the trees. So, and then his place would be right here. So right here would be the location of the requested building. And then, like I said, this road comes down, and then there was things made for along here. This is an easement for a line, power line.
I think I'm comfortable with the clarification of what lots were involved. I was a bit confused by the aerial that showed the neighboring properties to the east across from Highland Road outlined in green in our packets. But with the information that you've shared with us here, I guess I would be willing to move to approve the requested variance to section 105-1-3 subsection 4 of the City Code of Ordinances related to incidental uses, accessory structures for lots 1 and 2, Block 1, North Prairie 2nd Division, due to the following hardship. And that would be that the hardship is caused by the provisions of the zoning ordinance, and to modify the staff findings of fact, which is that the strict application of the provisions of the zoning ordinance would deprive the property owner the reasonable use of the property.
I just want to clarify, so you're doing both 1 and 2 for the finding of fact? I'm just asking.
I don't know if it was correct, but I was asserting that number 1 would be the hardship and number 2, the finding of fact.
Okay, I could second that. I can go with that.
Question? Do you want to merge the 1 and 2 together first before we give the variance?
Well, I was trying to follow the suggested motion where it suggested that we find a hardship and to modify the staff finding of fact. But if I didn't do that correctly, we could.
I don't think we need to I don't think we need to modify the staff's finding of fact because all of their fact findings are in favor of the variance.
Okay, so if we just need the hardship, then I would stick with number 1. The hardship is caused by the provisions of the zoning ordinance, in that we don't have a rural residential zoning code per se.
I can amend the second then, too, for the same.
Are we good?
I was just going to ask Rachel if she's okay with that.
From what I could hear of it, I think I am.
Okay, I'll summarize. We have a motion by Commissioner Huber, second by Commissioner McLean. Motion is to recommend approval of the requested variance to Section 105-1-3, subsection 4 of the City Code of Ordinances related to incidental uses, accessory structures for lots 1 and 2, Block 1, North Prairie Second Subdivision, due to the following hardship, which would be provision of the zoning ordinance does not allow or would restrict this type of building, and to modify the findings of fact. Do we have any questions?
I guess I just wanted one confirmation. There were letters sent, I saw, and there was no response from anyone in the neighborhood. No one had any concerns.
No.
Any other questions? If none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Huber,
Yes.
Commissioner Mutter,
Yes.
Mayor Freilich,
Yes.
Commissioner McLean,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner,
Yes.
Commissioner Renner,
Yes.
Chair Robinson.
Yes. Motion is passed. We'll move on to public hearing number 2. Consider an amendment to a special use permit by amending the proposed site plan for Lot 1, Block 1, Bridgeview Bay Addition. Jordan?
Good evening, Commissioners and Chair Robinson. Let me get to the site plan here. We're considering an amendment to a special use permit by amending the proposed site plan for 2600 Marina Road, southeast. The property located at 2600 is currently zoned CB Business Commercial. I think we're familiar with this one. The existing special use permit was approved at the September 17th, 2024 City Commission meeting. The initial application was submitted before that and was recommended for approval contingent upon resolving the site plan issues at the May Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. If you don't remember, I've looked at a little bit of that. One of the big discussions then was just buffering points, different things between the neighboring property and this current property. And what happened was then by September, those things were resolved by getting the number of buffer points that were acquired in the zoning code that we have. And, excuse me, there was before that, I'm just going to back up a month. Now I'm going date crazy here, so I gotta back up. So we have a contingent plan in May from this commission, and then we move to August. There was another decision that was for a variance request that was denied. They decided to move on from that, and then in September, the variance was no longer needed because of the buffering point issue that was fixed, and that was approved by the City Commission at the September 17th meeting. That permit allowed for the construction of multi-use shops, specifically for 3 structures with 18 multi-use shop condos for the property. There was 7 units, there was 6 units and 5 units, and what we're doing in this amendment is clarifying which units are which because they switched. So on the original special use permit, there were 3 numbers with nothing else on them. So for this, we put the one structure on the north side of the property, which would be adjacent to the bay, that has 7 units. The east side property has 6 units, and then the south side, which you can't see on this map currently, has 5 units. So the number of units has not changed, but the way that works has, which is why we're bringing back this special use permit, because from this picture I show you from our Connect Explorer program that we have shows the end unit that was not built because it was denied at the variance request. So they came in with a new one that follows the buffer, and that was what we call unit number 7. So the site plan, which is shown here, now has that added. And that was the building to the east that's right here.
See, Jordan,
Yes, Craig.
on the east, with the city, and I have the city site plan in front of me, what they approved was 5 units on the east side. The 6th unit was taken out because it was encroaching on a 30-foot buffer.
Correct.
So what they're doing now is they're reinstating the 6th unit, but it's smaller and complies with the 30-foot setback.
That is correct. So what I'm getting at is the building numbers, so you have building 2 and building 3, have flip-flopped 5 and 6 units. So that is what we're bringing to you tonight, is the change of the special use permit. There are other things I can get to, but this is the latest site plan, and then also along with this is the accompanying document for the condo declaration, which is in your packet. The other part of this is, I know we've talked, and just amending this special use clears things up for us. Normally, on a site plan that doesn't have a special use permit, it's a different situation for us. But because of the special use, we're bringing it to you for approval, and as city staff, we would recommend approval. But I would stand for any questions, and I know we've been over this a few times, but if there are any, I would take them.
Questions for Jordan?
Jordan, just to clarify, the original special use permit did not label the buildings in a way, like you're building 1, building 2, building 3?
That's correct.
Okay.
And I can pull it up too, if I can find it here.
And that special use permit was approved by everybody, correct?
Sorry, I'm trying to find it. That was approved by City Commission, yes.
Jordan, can you clarify one more time for me? And I know you've told me twice. And we have a 30-foot buffer, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Jordan? With none at this time, I will open it up for public comment or questions on item number 2.
Good evening. Ramona Furlong, 2700 Marina Road, Southeast. As you know, my husband Tim and I are the property owners to the south of this development. And I have a real problem with this request. We've been here many times discussing this. The Garlicks keep asking to amend the buffer zone. They keep asking to amend the number of units per building. And it's been denied many times. So I don't understand why we're back here again. The special use permit that was approved in September of 24 very specifically said how many units were attributed to which structures. The paper, the special unit, the write-up doesn't say that, but if you look at the video, it specifies that the Riverside unit would have, which is building 3, would have 5 units. The structure on the south would have 6, and the one on the north, on the north, which is the Bayside, would have 7. This is really important to us. We had a lot of discussion with the Garlicks about how to protect our property in a way that would allow them to move forward with their shop condos. And one of the things they said was, we won't have any windows on the structure that's next to your fence. They've pulled the southernmost unit of the Riverside structure, which is the one that they're now asking to add back in. They said we won't have any parking, we won't have any overnight stay. Some of the things that are addressed in the CCNRs, and some of them aren't. But when they pulled Unit 7, when the special unit permit was approved, we were okay with it because the Unit 7 was not on there. So that would allow us to protect our privacy with the buffer zone and the trees and the things that they're supposed to be putting in. With Unit 7 back in there, there are currently 9 picture windows on that structure, 5 feet by 5 feet. I can lay in my bed and see those windows. I can be in parts of my kitchen, parts of my living room, family room, and I can see those windows, which means they can see ours. The decks, the patio, the yard, everything, 5 by 5, 9 big picture windows that weren't there when this special use permit was approved in September of 24. So one of these previous commission meetings, I think it was Commissioner Huber and Commissioner Smith, had said it would be great if the property owners could get together and work out their differences. Well, I thought we did that, and here we are back. And they're wanting to do something that we had previously agreed that they weren't going to do. The special use permit is very specific about the buffer zone and about the number of units per structure. One thing that's interesting is after the special use permit was approved, very shortly after that they started construction, and it looked to us like, this looks awfully close to our boundary. It looks like there are footings for 6 units instead of 5. I'm talking about the Riverside structure. And I contacted Jordan and Mr. Stromey, and they went out. Well, Jordan went to the property. He said that he instructed the developers that they needed to pull the footing for that additional Unit 6 because it hadn't been approved. That was in December of 24. Nothing ever happened. By March, I was asking what's the status because the footing is still there. And the response I got was, what do you want me to do, stand over them? And I guess I did. I wanted him to enforce what was approved in the special use permit. He said in December of this year, that he had instructed them to stop working on Unit 7, but they didn't. They've been very busy building Unit 7 on that easternmost structure. I'll just say that unit has completely eviscerated our privacy, and I believe that the special use permit that was approved in September of '24 should stand. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Again, we're on item number 2.
My name is Ashley Champ. I don't know what the correct order is. I'd like to speak on behalf of the developers at some point, but I'll wait till you address me when it's time. If there's anyone else in the room, I'm not able to see if anyone else has comments at this time.
Nobody's at the podium. You can go ahead. Can they hear me? Yeah. If you can let her know, she can go ahead.
Ashley, go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioners. While I can certainly sympathize with homeowners, what you've had today is a recommendation from your staff that say this plat complies with city code, and that's what we're here to determine today. At one point, there was a 3-point buffer. The furlongs demanded 6. That's been provided to you. There has been no change between this document in the number of units, just simply the order of them. With a 6-point buffer, and I will inform my understanding that Ms. Furlong's home is 100 feet away. Whether she has good eyesight and can see the building and believes they can see them, unfortunately, we live in city limits, and we're not allowed to be invisible to our neighbors at all costs. There's plenty of homes in the city of Mandan where people live much closer than Ms. Furlong to this project. And what I have not heard, other than, a general pleading for respect of her privacy, I've not heard any citation to city code of which this plat is in violation of at this point, other than Ms. Furlong is just seemingly exhausted by the process. I've also heard a lot of commentary about prior agreements. Also, what has not been presented is any written agreement because there was none. A gentleman's agreement, from what I understand, was struck in an attempt to eliminate opposition to this development. But when the Furlongs continued their opposition to the project, there was no longer a need for the removal of those windows. That was going to be a design choice when the Furlongs were going to occupy that unit. At the time they ceased their desire to occupy that unit, the developers are no longer in a position to make an undesirable unit effectively a less cost generating unit for the benefit of the Furlongs, simply because a 6-point buffer and a 100-foot setback isn't enough for them. And so we really do ask you today on behalf of the developer who has tried in good faith to come before you and given you everything you need in order to get that staff approval today, that you take your staff's approval under consideration and vote yes today. That's all I have, unless you have any further questions for Monty or myself.
Any questions? I don't know if you can hear me, but thank you. Any other comments or questions?
The ordinance for the buffer assigned the Garlicks a number 7. It's a point system, as you know. As a residential property, we're 1. 7 minus 1 is 6 buffer points. That's what we asked for. I don't know the 3 buffer points that she's talking about. That was never on the table, as far as I know. I think the Garlicks were trying to say initially that they wanted to use our property as part of their buffer. They said your property, your house is 70 feet from the boundary from the fence, so we should be able to use your property as part of our buffer. You can't use someone else's property to fulfill your buffer requirements. So we worked it out. But we just asked for the 6 buffer points because that's what was required by the gateway. And as far as the gentleman's agreement goes, we had conversations with the Garlicks in good faith. And I guess apparently they didn't. Just so we're clear, how many buffer points is she recommending that we have? Because right now we have 6 under the special use permit, which was approved.
Commissioners, I'm under the impression 6 is required per the commission's opinions from a former meeting, and that's how many you have presented to you today and will be abided by.
And to my recollection, the last time they presented, we did discuss those.
I'm Tim Furlong. I'm also at 27 Marina Road, Southeast. I think this brings up a good point because I don't want there to be any more confusion on what's what. So why don't we discuss what these 6 buffer points are going to be made up of? It's going to be made up of trees, fence. What's going to make up this 6 points? Because I don't want to see some interpretation later on of these 6 points come up and everything changes. So I think that ought to be out on the table before the commission. The commission ought to be asking those questions as well so that we don't have any confusion in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this is Craig. I think the commission has already ruled on the buffer. That's not an issue before us today. They've properly established the 30-foot setback and the 6 buffer points. The buffer point analysis was also presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission by letter by the city attorney. And I think we're clearly in compliance with the buffer requirements. And again, that's not the issue before us today. The application does not seek to change the 30-foot setback and the buffer zone requirement as set forth in the special use permit.
Mr. Chair, if I might ask a follow-up question related to Commissioner Smith's comment. There is a note in our packets under staff review where it says staff note concerns regarding applicant continuing to meet other requirements in the original special use permit. Could we have you elaborate on that, please?
Chair Robinson, Commissioner Huber, I think what we're referring to is making sure that the CC&Rs or the covenants and restrictions at the time this packet was put together were being finalized, and we have that done. So I think that was part of it. I think, and to the Furlong's point, and I have been consistent in this, is and we're in the middle of winter now in this project, and it's in different stages, right? We have a building that was not completed, but is further along than the other ones. So on a site like this, I am requiring to make sure that the landscaping is completed before the project is done. And if there's things we can do in the ordinance that help that, as far as concessions, as far as maybe a bond, if it's not completed. Well, as the city, we don't want you to complete your landscaping in February. That would be a horrible idea. So there's things like that where we have concessions that allow them to, whether it's a certificate of occupancy or something that finishes part of the building. If those other pieces are in place, we will allow that to continue. So I think that's part of it, Commissioner Huber. Trying to think of any others, and I don't know if Rachel had any other comments from that.
Don't at this time.
Chair Robinson, being I wasn't on the commission at the time when this was originally started back in '24, is the proposed buffer zone the way it is right now with the 30-foot setback and the trees and bushes and stuff that are on here right now? is that what was originally agreed upon for the special use permit back when it was voted on by the city in '24? Is that the same as was already agreed upon?
It's a very good question. So I'm gonna back us up.
What I'm getting at on this is if the agreement between the two parties was, if they'd already agreed on the buffer zone, and I seem to remember the last time this came before the committee, there was a discrepancy in the buffer zone. If we're back to the buffer zone the way it was that the parties originally agreed upon, I don't know what we're arguing about.
Commissioners, on the screen, you'll see the original one. When Andrew was presenting in May, this is what was presented, and we, as staff, had a problem with this, and this is what went forward. But then when it went to City Commission, it had that in it. The buffer. No, not this one.
It's on page 32.
Thanks, Craig.
The one that's on the proposal right now is
Minus-
what was originally.
Minus this last unit.
Right. But I mean, the buffer part is the same.
Correct.
Okay.
Just to clarify, Commissioner, that was approved by the City Commission. Yeah.
Commissioner, that's correct. The 30-foot was approved by the city.
If I recall in the last discussion, there was some alluding to modifying that buffer, but we did not. We denied that request.
So we're looking at 30 feet of separation, 4 rows of trees, and a fence. Is that right? Okay. Okay. One thing about this project, it's offices with oversized garages, shop condos, right? They still, 7 units that were on the north should stay. I mean, they still have the same number of offices, still have the same number of shops. They want to move it closer to our property. We live there. They can have an office and an oversized garage on the bayside. I mean, this is the agreement that we reached. If they were intending this entire time to do something differently, they should have let us know so that we could have come to some other kind of an agreement.
Commissioners, if I might one last time, I can sympathize with Ms. Furlong's feelings, but she did build her home next to a commercially zoned piece of property. And again, I push back on this idea that there was any actual agreement. I see none, and while the parties tried to work together, they're not bound by anything. The commission is bound today by the ordinances in front of it, and as you can see, there's been no points raised today that say that any of this proposed special use permit plat violates city code at this time.
So, again, I think you're missing the point. This is an overlay zone. The overlay zone requires certain points in the buffer to create the buffer. Part of it is the separation from the properties. The other part of it is made up of a point system, and you get points for certain things. Some of it would be trees, and they have to be a certain caliber, is my understanding. And the other thing is that a fence will also be figured into that. So my question still is, this is in the overlay zone. You're required to have a buffer according to the zoning requirements. What is that? How are you going to meet the points of the buffer zone? That's all I'm asking for. I don't know why there can't be a transparency on that. And that should be part of the approval of this project. And I think it was, but I don't want to get down the road here and go through this again where they say, well, you know what, we can't quite fit this in. We don't think we should have to have these 6 points of what is required in the overlay zone. So why don't we just get it out on the table and figure out what it is so that it's part of this approval process, because it is pertinent to the approval of the project. That's all I'm asking for. I don't, and Mr. Smith, I don't think that's correct, what you're saying, that's not important today, because it is part of the project. So thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I can answer Tim's question. Way Andrew calculated the 6 points was 4 points for the trees, 1 point for the fence, and 1 point for the 30-foot setback, being in excess of 25 feet.
But here today, we're not
No,
going over the points. We're going over the amendment for to put what building goes where.
right.
We have nothing to do with the buffer zone or the points. That's not what we're here to approve today.
Right, and I don't recall what month we discussed this, but they did ask about the 6 points at their prior presentation, and we denied it. And mainly to stick to the 6 points that you seem to be fuzzy on. So we're not addressing those today.
Chair Robinson, just to clarify, on page 32 of our packets and the plan that you've showed that shows the landscaping, I can't quite, hone in on the amount of setback, but I just wanted to verify that is, I can see 4 rows of trees, I can see a fence, I just can't quite tell if it's depicting the 30-foot setback.
Does that suffice, Commissioner Huber?
I'm not able to tell from looking at it if it's a 30-foot setback. Now I think I'm starting to see it.
It's here.
Okay, yep, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I can confirm that the building setback is beyond 30 feet by a few inches. So.
Okay. And so, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that what we're talking about is what we're being presented, so that if we can agree that issue is addressed in this plan, then maybe we can turn our discussion to the reconfiguration of the units.
Well, to help bring some clarity here, I think based on Jordan's presentation, the only thing we're deciding on is bringing clarity to the identifying the buildings.
And so,
number and location.
on that note, I don't know if this would be appropriate time to ask a question, but it just seems like maybe there's a discrepancy in pages 20, 21 of our packets. If I'm reading this, it's suggesting that the 2024 agreement allowed for 7 units on the north, 6 on the east, and 5 on the south, and that's now being proposed to be changed to 5 on the north, 7 on the east, and 6 on the south. But when we look at that again, page 32 plan, those aren't the numbers there. It's 6 on the east, 5 on the south, and 7 on the north. So I just wanted to, again, so that we don't wind up having ambiguity as to anything we do or don't agree to tonight, it seems like maybe there's a discrepancy in the outline on pages 20 and 21 of the packet.
Commissioner, that's a good point, and I think the applicant should clarify, because my understanding is what they were applying for is on page 32.
Wade, are you able to comment on that since I don't have the packet in front of me? I can't confirm or disconfirm that.
Hi, Commissioners. This is Wade. Yes, so the special use permit that was voted on, that was approved, just simply stated, the special use permit is for 3 structures. One structure with 7 units, one structure with 5 units, one structure with 6 units. Didn't specify which building was which. We do now have the 7 units on the north side. Our intent is 5 units on the south side and 6 units on the east side. As shown on the plat that's before you has been redone by Toman Engineering, replatted. And yes, to answer previous questions, we are outside the 30-foot buffer. Does that answer the question?
So, wait, just to clarify, on the river side, there's only going to be 6 units, correct? That's with the one you're adding, correct? Or the one that you're
correct.
finishing?
That's correct. It's 6 units.
Thank you.
Commissioners, also, up on the screen, I have pulled up the original special use permit stating the 3 structures. I know it's hard to see, but 1 structure with 7, 1 structure with 5, 1 structure with 6. Sorry, back to that.
So the intent behind today's recommendation is to bring clarity as to where those buildings sit or situated on the lot itself.
That's correct.
So, Chairman Robinson, I feel comfortable with that clarity. Are we also to be taking a look tonight at the condominium documents? Are they part of what we're considering here this evening?
Yes, they're part of the packet.
And so, I guess on that note, on page 41 of the packet, item 11, uses of units, I don't see anything in there that holds the buyers or tenants to anything tighter than central business district zoning. If I recall correctly, I thought there had been prior discussion about things like some limitations on operating hours, no overnight stays, or a couple things that come to mind. But if there's nothing in the condo documents or covenants that holds it to any higher standard, that could allow for some fairly intensive uses.
But even if we did, I mean, is our purpose to approve these? Because I mean, the association could just change them without our visibility on it. So I don't know if do we even have a role to approve any covenants, I guess.
I only brought it up because I thought we had been given some assurances that there would be an agreement that would help to prevent those types of things. And so I'm just trying to, maybe look down the road at how to best avoid conflicts and have some predictability in this.
Commissioners, this is Wade speaking again. In the special use permit, Commissioner Thomas, it spells out things like external illumination. Item 15 says noise producing business related activities other than those of office or clerical nature are limited to between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. So I think the special use permit covers those things, so they're not spelled out specifically in that document.
And that's also pulled up on the screen, if we can have it.
Chair Robinson and Mr. Vogel, I maybe would just suggest that for a belt and suspenders approach, that it might not hurt to reiterate that language in the condo documents so that it's very clear to anyone purchasing or renting one of these units that they're expected to abide by those requirements in the special use permit.
Or make a copy of the special use permit an attachment to this document. But because I can see that too. If I buy one of these 20 years from now, I get the association document, but I don't get the special use permit language. I'm just going to go ahead. I'll be down the road before they start knocking on my door.
Is the special use permit, is that officially recorded somewhere? I mean, as we have our meeting minutes, I'm supposed to recorded, but is there anything that can be enforced by anyone?
I believe, Commissioners, that the special use permit is part of, these documents that go with this whole project, is part of it.
I can address a little bit of what you're saying, though, Chair Robinson. I honestly, I've looked at a lot of doc covenants, and I've never, or condo docs, if you want to say, I've never seen an attached special use permit on them. Will, you can ask if you have, but I've never seen that.
And I would believe that. And however, if you have restrictions in the special use, shouldn't the buyer be aware of that?
I guess I would prefer that they do put them in the covenants. What was put in there? I guess that's my initial knee-jerk thought.
100%. I'm just saying it's not common practice.
So because it's not common practice to attach them, we should put them in the covenants. I agree, even though, just for clarity, even though.
Commission, this is Ashley Cham speaking. My clients are happy to put whatever language that was mirrored in the special use permit restricting noise producing businesses and lighting issues into the covenants before they are recorded.
Okay, thank you. Any other final comments? With none, I'll close the public hearing, return it to commission.
Chair Robinson, I can make a motion to move to recommend approval of the amendment to the special use permit by amending the proposed site plan to present to the present site plan for 2600 Marina Road Southeast. I might also add that we probably should make that change on page 21 where it says the units, 20 and 21 that Commissioner Huber pointed out.
It's in the top third of the page, Jordan.
Just a question on the motion. So do we want to add into the motion the clarity about putting it into the covenants, or is it?
Do you want those in there, Jordan?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
I just have a clarification question. The units that are listed on page 20 are correct.
Yeah, it's the paragraph that starts with while the applicant that says it's moving from 6 units to 7 units. The E structures moved from 6 units to 7 units. That's not correct.
Oh, in the paragraph.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no
Now I
worries.
follow.
And I will amend to add in that it goes into the condo docs.
I'll second the motion.
I think I made that clear as mud for you, Chair Robinson.
He's still writing.
So I think what we're doing is approving the site plan that's on page 32 of the packet.
I'll review the motion here. Motion by Commissioner McLean, second by Commissioner Gardner. Motion is to recommend approval of the amendment to the special use permit by amending the proposed site plan to the presented site plan for 2600 Marina Road Southeast, and add into that, amend the draft condo documents to include the special use permit language. Questions with the motion? None, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Huber,
Yes.
Commissioner Mutter,
Yes.
Mayor Freilich,
Yes.
Commissioner McLean,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner,
Yes.
Commissioner Renner,
Yes.
Chair Robinson.
Yes. Motion is passed. We'll move on to the other business for the evening. We have presented to us a couple items, appointments for the 2026 chair, vice chair, and secretary, and also the scheduled meeting dates for 2026. We'll start with the appointments.
You want a motion?
Do one at a time.
I move to appoint Bill Robinson as chair for 2026.
Second.
A little too quick.
You get extra pistachios?
Any other nominations? But then I'll close the nominations. All in favor for Bill Robinson to be chair in 2026?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is passed. Move on to vice chair. I'll take nominations.
I would nominate Commissioner McLean for vice chair.
Second.
Motion is to nominate Commissioner McLean for vice chair. Any questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is passed. And secretary.
I can nominate Nancy. Is that what we do? Yes.
Yes.
I'll second that.
Any questions? Motion is to, Nancy's nominated for secretary for 2026. Motion by Commissioner McLean, second by Commissioner Gardner. Any questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same
Aye.
sign. Motion is passed. We have before us the suggested dates. This is the fourth Monday of each month, is that correct?
Commissioners, the only one that we maybe had a question on was that May 27th, which is a Wednesday after Memorial Day weekend. So just throwing it out there as to.
Okay, that's a good point.
Did we do it before Memorial Day this year, or when did we do it? Do you remember?
I think it was after.
So I think it was like this Wednesday, the Wednesday after, right? I can move to leave the dates how they are.
As suggested. I think if we do need to change something, I forget what the time frame is, 3 weeks, something like that. So if something should come up mid-year. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner McLean, second by Commissioner Mutter to schedule the 2026 regular meeting dates as shown in the packet. Any questions? With none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion is passed. Anything else?
The only other thing I have for you, commissioners, is I know that Rachel and the planning team and our team and staff here in the office is going to be working diligently to hopefully have some zoning code updates for you this spring. So we'll probably be asking some of you and most of you, all of you, to look at them, at the changes and different things. And yeah, I know those are coming. We don't want to throw a date out yet, but hopefully in February we can work on that process. So there you have it. That's all I have.
Are we looking to tackle them all in one meeting or over the course of a couple?
I'll let Rachel comment on that one.
I can address that. Yes, that is the intention. So I've been working with our team kind of in the background, going through the changes that were recommended. And we've been working with Andrew as well. And so I think we're going to wait till the start of the new year to make sure everybody's around. But I think we've got a good path forward. And yes, it would be, I think, the majority of the changes at once, just to make sure that we're moving into the new year well, I guess a little bit after the start of the new year, right? But mostly moving into the new year with that full update. And then there are probably, I mean, there's always updates to zoning codes, right? Like they look great, you think they're going to work great, and then there's probably going to be one or two things to update down the road because that's just how it always works. But that's the plan, is all at once. So it'll be a lot of information. We'll make sure we hold a couple meetings ahead of time with you, either kind of like ad hoc meetings, or going over it and giving you a chance between meetings to approve it. But that's the plan as of right now, and we'll work with the staff to get that done.
Thank you.
Jordan, I just want to, good job tonight for pitch hitting for Rachel, and I want to wish all the staff happy holidays, and thank you for everything, and Rachel, thank you for the gift.
Yep. Merry Christmas all. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.